JBNN keep you informed. I'm Michelle Jones. Hi guys. Before we get into the news, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share the news with someone today. Now on to the news. One dead following three-vehicle collision on PJ Patterson Highway. At least one person has died as a result of injuries sustained in a three-vehicle collision on the PJ Patterson Highway Tuesday afternoon. Dead is 42-year-old Kevin Rose of a gas still address in St. Catherine. According to reports, the accident involved two white Toyota Probox motor cars and a white Sienna motor truck. The three vehicles were said to be traveling in an easterly direction when, upon reaching the vicinity of the highway, the motor truck collided into one of the Probox motor cars. As a result of that impact, the Probox collided into the rear of the other Probox motor car, causing Rose to be flung from the vehicle. He received injuries to the head and was pronounced dead at the Maple Hospital. The other two drivers were treated at hospital and released. Vice Chair of the National Road Safety Council, Dr. Lucian Jones, said that the taxi driver was not wearing a seatbelt. He said the police revealed that several other motorists were ticketed for driving while videotaping the crash.
Over 30 tickets were issued to persons driving and using their cell phone. This is madness. So you have madness on top of madness. So in the first instance, there was speeding, somebody died. There's also the fact that somebody is not wearing a seatbelt, which could have been prevented. The death could have been prevented. And now you have it all compounded by the fact that people are using a cell phone, recording what they are seeing, rather than driving and being very careful. We have to be more careful on the roads. It's now 141 persons who have died, almost equivalent to what happened last year. And last year, 425 people died. We have to do better.
Police probing stabbing of bus conductor by schoolboys in Lawrence Tavern. A bus conductor was yesterday afternoon rushed to the Kingston Public Hospital after he was stabbed by a group of schoolboys in Lawrence Tavern, St. Andrew. The 20-year-old conductor was observed bleeding profusely from his lower back. His merino was blood-soaked and was seemingly in excruciating pain. The injured man, who was of a Rodney Street, Kingston address, along with the police, was accompanied to the hospital by the driver of the bus. The Lawrence Tavern police are investigating the incident. Morant Bay Councillor Bryan has died. Councillor for the Morant Bay Division in St. Thomas, Bryan has died. Bryan, who first won the division in 2012 on a People's National Party PMP ticket, succumbed to a heart condition about 2 a.m. Wednesday. Ryan Williams, the minority leader in the St. Thomas Municipal Corporation, expressed deep sadness at the loss, describing Bryan as a colleague and his best friend. Outside of politics, Wash was my best friend, and he'll be sadly missed, said Williams, who was holding with family members Wednesday morning. Bryan first won the division by defeating Mayor Rosemary Shaw. Despite his ailment, he managed to retain the division for the PMP in the February local government elections. The PMP won 4 seats in that election compared to the Jamaica Labour Party's 6. Man in custody following guns and ammo seizure. 2 guns and the 17 rounds of ammunition were seized during a multi-agency coordinated raid in Granspin, St. Andrew on Wednesday, May 1. The St. Andrew North Division, K9 Division, Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Branch, Specialized Operations, the Jamaica Defense Force, and the Caribbean Search Center conducted an operation between the hours of 4:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. in the Cruiser Gully community. During the operation, a shotgun, a 9mm pistol, 5 shotgun cartridges, and the 12 9mm cartridges were seized, police said. One man was taken into custody in relation to the seizure. However, his identity has been withheld pending further investigations. JCF made 127 arrests in fraud targeting bank customers since 2021. The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF says it has made 127 arrests in its investigations of fraud targeting local bank account holders over the last 3 years. The JCF says from 2021 to 2024, 601 reports were received, with losses amounting to $306 million. Deputy Commissioner in charge of the Crime and Security Portfolio, Fitz Bailey, gave a further breakdown of the losses incurred over the period during his appearance before the Economic and Production Committee of Parliament on Wednesday.
In 2022, for example, we had 179 reports in comparison to 189 in 2023, and that represented a 10 or 6% increase. And again, the National Commercial Bank and Bank of Nova Scotia were most impacted. That was 85% of the reports. And since January 2024, we have had 98 reports, and the total amount of money lost is $53 million. And these were offenses mostly committed through online transfers, automated teller machines, and point of sale, as well as wire transfers. And I must point out NCB in particular, and this has been not new. Over the years, we have always had that type of relationship with NCB. Sometimes it's very difficult to get support from the other financial institutions, the other banks. And some of the constraint that we have is that, notwithstanding the fact that the banks are, the customer has lost their funds. Sometimes it's difficult. We have to be applying for court orders through the judiciary to get the information, which sometimes slow down the investigative process. One of the things that I would recommend to this House, that there should be an amendment whereby a court order can only be obtained when someone is arrested. If that is not done, we have to go through the ministerial order. And I think that aspect of the law need to be amended so that an officer can make an application before a judge for a court order to look at a person's account before the person is arrested. It really impacts on our investigative process without that authority.
Representatives of the JSF and the Bank of Jamaica are appearing before the Economy and Production Committee in relation to concerns about the banking sector. I had no reason to kill my wife. Barbados-born businessman Omar Collymore, who was on trial for reportedly masterminding the murder of his wife for multi-million-dollar life insurance policies, insisted on Tuesday that he did not know the value for policies and that he would have advised her against making him a 70% beneficiary on the $80 million plan. That is something I would never have agreed to because we have 2 kids, he said emphatically, while adding that he and his wife, Simone Campbell Collymore, were entrepreneurs, and that if anything should have happened to either of them, it was the children who would need the financial cushioning. The 41-year-old businessman is being tried on murder and conspiracy to murder charges for the double murder of his wife and her taxi driver, Winston Corey Walters. The alleged contract killer Michael Adams and alleged accomplices Shaquilla Edwards and Dwayne Pink are also on trial on similar charges. I said I love my wife. I had no reason to kill my wife. I didn't subcontract anyone to kill my wife, period, Collymore said boldly, while hunched over the witness box while giving sworn evidence in his defense in the Home Circuit Court. The court earlier heard that the businesswoman had taken out a $21 million life insurance policy in 2015, of which her husband was the sole beneficiary, and together with her husband in 2017, both set up $80 million policies. Both opted to leave 70% to each in their policies, while 15% was allotted to each of their 2 children. Asked by his lead attorney, Diane Jobson, to respond directly to a suggestion that he had taken out the policies for the sole purpose of having his wife killed for the insurance money, Collymore said, "Not at all. I had nothing to do with the policies. I don't even know where they were. I've never seen the actual policy," added Collymore, who maintained that he was never present when his wife took out the policies, nor had he had any meetings with the insurance agent. During the trial, the businesswoman's father and sister testified that Collymore, following a major fight with his wife over an extramarital affair, had threatened that would ensure that the family crumbled, which a court heard was about 3 months before his wife's murder. Explaining for the first time what he had meant, Collymore, who claimed living with his wife's family was stressful and negatively affected his marriage, said, "When I said crumble, I mean the whole bullshit." According to him, it was referring to the problems he had with his wife and her family, including him not being able to advise his wife without her seeking approval from her parents and feeling like he was walking on eggshells in their home. Further in his evidence in chief, Collymore also testified that the contractors who were building an apartment complex for him and his wife had threatened her. He said their work relationship was not good, and a man he identified as Barry would shortcut processes and materials. According to him, he and his wife had multiple conversations about the issue she was having with Barry, and he had told the police about the threats. The defendant also sought to distance himself from Pink and Edwards. He said he did not know Pink and had only met with Edwards once, and that they probably had one conversation in which Edwards was asking about items that he sold in his company. As for Adams, he said it was someone with whom he did business, as he would be given phones and phone accessories to sell for the company. He was adamant that he never discussed any murder conspiracy with Adams during their numerous phone conversations. When asked about one of the shooters, Wade Blackwood, he said he had never met that murderer and that they had never spoken. Collymore was, however, grilled by prosecutor Andrew Martin Swaby about the 379 lines of communication he had with Adams from December 25 to January 2, compared to 138 lines of communication he had with his wife, which included missed calls, phone calls, and text messages. However, Collymore claimed the calls were strictly about business, as he had given Adams several phones over the Christmas period, and that many of them had to be returned for repairs. Under cross-examination, Collymore said he was not surprised that there were no calls between his wife and Adams, as in their business, he dealt with the men and his wife dealt with the women. He was asked about a message he had sent to Adams on December 31, saying his wife was in a Mercedes-Benz and that she was going to church, but he claimed he sent the messages because his wife was to collect some damaged phones from Adams. Government reports revenue shortfall for fiscal year, which ended in March. The Ministry of Finance's released information showed that government revenues underperformed for the financial year, which ended in March, a development which has implications for the budget for the current fiscal year. The ministry said the government has commenced an assessment of the options to ensure prudent fiscal operations and the attainment of legislated targets. Government revenues for 2023-24 were $97.5 billion, or 11.8% ahead of the prior fiscal year, but still less than budgeted by $22.4 billion. Meanwhile, tax revenues for 2023-24 were 10.5%, or $78 billion ahead of the previous fiscal year, but $24.8 billion less than budgeted. The ministry said the revenue underperformance against the budget for the full year 2023-24 was primarily due to the revenue outturn for the month of March 2024. Total revenues for March 2024 were $29.3 billion, or 18% less than budgeted, while tax revenues were $28 billion, or 20% less than budgeted. The Finance Ministry said the main contributor to the shortfall was corporate income tax, which was $14.3 billion lower than programmed for the fiscal year. It said several entities and individuals who filed did not make the indicated tax payments within the required timeline, and the government will be pursuing payment related to these returns via its comprehensive compliance systems. Changes to the international financing reporting standards also resulted in lower taxes being declared by a number of financial institutions. The impact of the changes to the accounting standards is being closely examined by Tax Administration Jamaica, the ministry said. It noted that although expenditure was below programmed levels by $14.4 billion, it was not enough to outweigh the revenue shortfall, resulting in a fiscal surplus of only $1.1 billion, or 0.04% of gross domestic product, instead of the budgeted fiscal balance of $9.1 billion, or 0.3% of GDP. JBN will keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.